Good evening, sir. I'm audible.
Yes, you are audible.
Let me share my screen.
Yes.
I hope the screen is visible.
Yes, it's visible.
Okay. Uh, Good evening, everyone. Again, welcome back to the fourth day, and I'm thankful to Sriram sir for giving me the opportunity for delivering second session in the FDP, and also welcome all the participants from various places. Thank you for taking out your time and being here for attending the session. So today, for the day 4, my second session, I will be discussing about roles and responsibilities of governance in disaster management strategies. Uh, Before diving into today's session, I would also want to quickly recall my session, the first session what I have delivered. So basically, I have delivered about disaster management, the flood is basic about disaster management. So what is the flood hazard, how vulnerability works, what are the measures of mitigation, so whether it is structural measures or non-structural measures. So also how we are going to prevent it, and I've also discussed about disaster management cycle. So the majorly four important parameters: the preparedness, response, and warning systems. So these will comes under disaster management act. Now, in this session, I would want to discuss about the importance of the governance into the disaster management strategies. So, as we know that any disasters or any hazards are taking place in any location, the first and foremost thing what we generally do as a common man, we would inform to the disaster management response force, that is NDRF. So they will come for that to that zone at the event, and they will look after the all the things, whether start the rescue operation, evacuating the people who are suffering from the location, getting back to them to the safe zone, which is the rescue center, providing the goods, the drinking water, the food, as well as the shelters. So basically, this is what we understood about disaster management. In this session, I would want to highlight a few important aspects of governance, which are uh, uh, basically involving in decision-making strategies. These are the people who make the decisions making and policy makers. So understanding about how things will work and how the roles and responsibilities of governance, what are the hierarchy we have in the governance agencies. So this is what today I will be discussing. Uh, well, Diving into the sessions. These are the content of my presentation. So briefly, I will give the introduction about the roles and responsibilities of governance, basically, and importance of governance in disaster management, the phases of disaster management, institutional frameworks, the responsibilities of government bodies, and community and governance. So these are the for this short period of session. So I have highlighted some of the important parameters which I felt which are very important as a water resource engineer, as a flood modeler, to understand and give back to the people who are the researchers who are trying to learn, who are trying to aspire to get better in the disaster management field. Well, coming to the introduction part, so basically, as we are into the fourth day of the event, so we have already understood about what is disaster management and how is the definition of basically the definition of disaster management. Still, as a refreshing thing, I would also want to give briefing. There is disaster management governance involves creating frameworks to prepare, respond, and recover effectively from disaster. Basically, the governance will involve in any of the hazards, any of the events occurring in there. Natural hazards, it may be your cyclone, it may be tsunami, it may be your flooding, it may be your landscaping, it may be your earthquake. So any natural hazards taking place any part of the country, the first and foremost thing what involves is, and that is NDRF, disaster response force. Yeah. Yeah. So basically, prepare, respond, and recovery effectively from the disaster. That's what governance involves, creating the frameworks. This again, the disaster management governance refers to the framework through which authorities, organization, and community coordinates to reduce disaster risk and manage emergency responses. So as a common man, it is very difficult for us to make a huge change in the events. So in that situation, definitely as a victim that we are suffering in that hazardous situation in the event. So we need some sort of communication, coordinations to reduce the disaster risk and manage emergency responses. Until unless if we do not have any communication facilities, if you are not able to communicate, or if we don't have any transportation facilities to evacuate the people who are suffering or who are stuck in the event, so that would create the major disaster or bring a lot of damages to the people as well as the livelihoods as well as the properties, infrastructures, and road. So because of that, as a disaster management governance, it is important to organize properly, to communicate well, to coordinate properly from the ground to the state to the central government. So it ensures that policies, rules, and resources align for optimal risk mitigation. Effectively, governance ensure preparedness, mitigation, response, and recovery. As my first session, I have explained about the basic effects, that is the four effects of disaster management cycle, that is preparedness, mitigation, response, and recovery. So these things, the governance at lower level to the higher level, from the district level to the panchayat level to the state level to the central government level. So every stage, the governance has its own way of working and own way of bringing the peace and bringing the shelter to the people who are suffering in that particular region. Yeah. So the importance of governance in disaster management. So as we know, any event, any organization, any event what we are going through, the hierarchy is there, and there should be a proper channel of taking any work into existence. For any plan, if you are doing any plan, until unless if you have a better execution team with you, it is the plan is only on the paper. So until unless you have a better management, better execution team with you, that you are going to execute in a better way. Otherwise, the plan will be only on the paper, so which is used for nothing. So in that situation, so we need to understand how the governance is so important in disaster management, risk reduction, as well as a recovery system. So here, the governance ensures coordination among various stakeholders. So that is a very, very important factor in as the government is involving in it. So that it ensures the coordination among the various stakeholders, provides policy directions and legal frameworks. So these are the people who frame the policies. These are people who take the decision for the events, as well as bring out the better plans for the disaster, and to make sure that whatever the events are happening, what are the plans, what are the legal frameworks are taking place. So we bring up to the best possible way, as well as it is user friendly, as well as it is very accessible to the common people. Facilitate timely resource mobilization, since any event occurring, the NDRF forces they are releasing, they are sending, as well as the government is sending the needs, the goods, the food, the drinking water, all the facilities. We need proper resources for mobilization, including the transportation as well as travel assistance. Enhances accountability and transparency. So obviously, one as a government side, there should be some sort of accountability and transparency. Then only whatever the event we are taking place, it will act in a better way, and we get better results as well. Promote community participation and resilience building. So as a disaster management act, so when they are promoting or bringing out the awareness about the people, how we are supposed to go with the building by laws, and understanding how the resilience of the buildings are taking place in that particular region, how we are designing that, as we build and design our building our houses, we go with NOC. So that is how we are thinking about whether it is environmental friendly, whether it is not in building into that wetland area. So all these things we should understand. Also, as a governance side, it is our responsibility to make people aware about the things which they are going to experience for the lifetime. The governance framework in disaster management. Well, for every agencies, there are some hierarchies. So as we know, for even it is a private sectors, government sectors, or NGOs, for everything, there are certain agencies, there are certain hierarchies. So we should we cannot, sometimes it's become very chaotic as well as difficult to reach to the higher authorities without we are following the proper channels. So because of that, the proper coordinations and having a proper communication, proper funding releases, proper information passage, proper plan, making a master plan for the disaster risk mitigations. So there should be a better coordination between the agencies what we have in the country. So for example, uh, uh, we have a central government, that is Ministry of Home Affairs, and state government, that is state disaster management authorities and districts. We have panchayat as well as municipalities. So basically, this is the outline of the coordination of agencies we have in country. This is how we approach to the higher authority. This is how we get the funding, we get the relief, we get the whatever the facilities as well as the support from the higher authority to the lower authorities. So effective disaster management requires synchronized efforts between government bodies, local authorities, NGOs, and other private sectors. Governance facilitates communication channels and collaboration frameworks, enabling swift response and resource sharing during emergencies. So that's how we are looking for as a common man to the governments. We are very curious. We are very aspire towards the government, how they are working for us, how better they are communicating with us, and how we are synchronized with the governance, and how better we are safe, and how we are getting the resources, awareness, and the safety needs in that difficult situations. The Disaster Management Act. So the most important here is in 2005, the government of India has introduced a National Disaster Management Act. So which is the act which generally provides the legal framework for disaster management in India. For example, establishing institutional mechanisms at national level, state level, district, and panchayat levels. So with the help of this National Disaster Management Act 2005, the government provides proper legal frameworks for disaster management, especially in our country, establishing institutional mechanism at different levels, different stages, that is at the national wise, the central government stage, then we are having state level, then we are having district level as well as panchayat level. This is the framework we generally have and we generally follows to approach as well as to get the better benefit and awareness from the higher authority to the lower authorities. It mandates the creation of the National Disaster Management Authority, led by the Prime Minister, along with State Disaster Management Authorities, SDMA, and District Management Authority, DDMAs. So here, so the obviously the Prime Minister, Honorable Prime Minister of India, he will be the lead person in this Disaster Management Authority, and for every state we are having state disaster management authorities and district magistrate, district management authorities there. The Act enables the government to create disaster management plans covering prevention, mitigation, preparedness, and responses. See, as a common man, as a institutional, as a researcher, as a scientist, it's difficult for us to prepare a disaster management plan, since we are doing a lot of research, we are doing some sort of project still. We do not have that final authority, we do not have that authentication to make a master plan for the disaster management risk. Since the government agencies have their own people working rigorously for this plans, preparing effortlessly and bringing out the best plan which could covers the prevention about the disaster, the mitigation, the preparedness, as well as response. So these are the very four most important factors of a disaster management plan. Also, the disaster management cycle. So under keeping these four in our mind, the disaster management plan will be prepared to serve the necessity and requirement of four major events, efforts, that is prevention, mitigation, preparedness, and responses. The National Disaster Management Act made it statutory responsible of the government to protect the citizens against disasters. It put in place several structures to this end. So basically, this act will help to the citizens against disaster, whether it is tsunami, whether it is a earthquake, whether it is coastal flooding, or any event or any hazards are taking place, and the government, the citizen of country has a provision to take any help or benefit from the government under National Disaster Management Act 2005. So here, the legal institutional frameworks, as per Disaster Management Act, the legal institutional framework has been prepared by the government. There are certain, as per the governance size, as per the hierarchy, the legal institution frameworks has been prepared. So basically, as we know, under the central government, we have central government, state government, district administrative administrations. In under district administrations, we have panchayat as well as municipalities. So here in central government, so the first and foremost we have is Ministry of Higher Affairs, that is MHA, that is Ministry of Higher Affairs, Disaster Management Cell, nodal ministries. So generally we have these ministries, and again with this help of along with that we have NDMA, that is National Disaster Management Authority. So that is directly connected with the central government. Also, it connect with Ministry of Higher Affairs. So the disaster management cell, and along with that, after this disaster management authority, which is has a national executive committees, and coming to the Ministry of Higher Affairs, Home Affairs, we are having NDMI, that is NDRF, National Institute of Disaster Management, National Disaster Response Force. And with this NDMA, that is connected to the state government, that is state disaster management authorities. So that the state disaster management authority works under NDMA, and which is one of the primary concern with the state government. And with the help of SDMA, we are having state executive committees, committee chairs will be there, and they will be looking after for all the events, all the strategies, all the plans, all the policies. They are going to take a decision about the, with the help of the NDMA, they will take the help, and they will proceed with those events, how to respond, how to recover, how to prepare the people, how to bring them to the awareness. Also, with the next to after state government, we are having district administrative. So every state, so we are having a district administrative with the help of district administrative. So directly we have district disaster management authority, which is directly in contact with state executive committee chairs, and after this, so we are having every grams. So we are having small villages, we are having small municipalities, we are having small panchayat, panchayat villages, towns. So this is how a legal institutional framework has been developed under Disaster Management Act 2005. So basically, in India, NDMA, NDRF, SDMA, these are the primary things which generally come into picture and act as a responsible towards the mitigation of any disaster taking place in the country, irrespective of the state, irrespective of the districts, irrespective of the municipalities. So basically, these are the two organizations come forward for preparing the master plan to give the better facilities, solutions, and preparing the awareness camps. Even the state NDMA, very often they have any events of preparing awareness to the people, kind of in the form of seminars and training events, as well as conferences. So if you are interested in learning in detail about the Disaster Management Act, disaster management responses, so you can register, get enroll in this event and get better benefit out of these activities. So here, next one, National Disaster Management Authority. Since in India, this is one of the primary organization who literally works in detail about the mitigation, about the response, about how to handle the risk as well as disasters in India. So National Disaster Management Authority in India, so generally we call it as a NDMA, that is National Disaster Management Authority. It is an apex body of government of India with a mandate to lay down policies for disaster management. So this is the authority which has the all authority, all the power, all the authenticity to prepare plans to make any policies related to Disaster Act. So NDMA was established through the Disaster Management Act and enacted by the Government of India on 23rd December 2005. So this NDMA came into existence in the December 23rd in 2005. NDMA is responsible for forming policies, laying down guidelines and best practice for coordinating with the state disaster management authority, that is SDMAs, to ensure a holistic and distributed approach to disaster management. So it is the responsibility of NDMA to make sure that whatever the policies, whatever the decision, whatever the plans they are preparing, they are bringing out, so it reaches to the state disaster management authorities, and also in a better way, and which makes huge advantage of the particular plans. The phrase disaster management is to be understood as a continuous and integrated process of planning, organizing, coordinating, and implementing measures which are necessary or expedient for the prevention of danger or threat of any disaster mitigation or reduction of risk or of any disaster or severity of the consequences. So assessing the severity of magnitude of effect of any disaster, evacuation, rescue, relief, rehabilitation, and reconstruction. Basically, in NDMA, so we are into this rescue, evacuation, relief, rehabilitation, and reconstructions. So as we have understood from this last 4 days of this FDP program, when any disaster or any hazard is taking place in any of the city, any of the place, whether it is a flooding, a tsunami, or earthquakes, or any major events, including landsliding. So when any event takes place, recovery and reconstruction is gonna be very tough job. As a authority, it's gonna be very difficult, and rescue and evacuation also takes a very crucial part at time of the event is taking place at the time of hazard. But later on, when it is has to relief, it has to send the rescue team, it has to send the goods, food, drinking water, shelters, and clothes. That situation is going to be tough to mobilize the facilities to the victim who are suffering, and sometimes it's going to be difficult for bringing them to the rehabilitation center and reconstructing the public the infrastructures, the roads, the buildings, the any facilities we have. For example, if it is a airports, railway stations, transportations, government hospitals, government institution buildings. So this such buildings, such loss of infrastructure is gonna be very difficult to reconstruct as well as invent to these things. So in this case, the NDMA takes place to as a front warrior to work in details to act accordingly and prepare the best possible solution for the victims as well as the location. So basically, we have certain functions and responsibilities of NDMA. So it is every organization, every sector, it has its own boundaries and limitations. So similarly, when the NDMA, even though it is one of the highest authority in terms of disaster management in India, but still it has certain functions and responsibilities. They cannot go beyond that, and they have to follow certain rules and responsibilities. For example, to lay down policies on disaster management. So any plans, any policies, any funding, any relief, they are doing it. They first and foremost, the NDMA will come into picture, and they will make sure that whatever the policies they are going to make it, they on a disaster management, they will take the initiative and approve the national plans. Obviously, whatever the plans they are preparing as a disaster management, as a rescue, as a preparedness, this national plan. So the NDMA is the authority which approves the plan, considering the all factors about different regions, different people, and different considerations. Approved plans prepared by the ministries of Department of the Government of India in accordance with national plan. So lay down guidance to be followed by the state authorities in drawing up the state plans. So obviously, since this NDMA is preparing or laying down the policies, also making the plans when as a subordinates to the central government. So we are having state government plans. So what are the state government authorities are taking place? So they will be looking to NDMA, as well as NDMA act as a mentor to the as a guiding force to the state government to prepare these plans for the disaster management in that particular states. Considering the geographical parameters, considering the loss, considering the population, considering the event, the history of the events in the particular state. So lay down guidance to be followed by the different ministries of department of the government of India for the purpose of integrating the measure for preventing of disaster or mitigating of its effects in the development plan and projects. So basically, whatever the ministries or government is, whatever the ministries as well as the departments are involved in disaster management preparation of plans, whether it is a state government or central governments. So the major purposes of integrating the measure of prevention of disaster or mitigation. Basically, we are bound with two things. Firstly, how to prevent any event occurs before the event takes place, before the disaster happening in the particular region, how we are going to prepare it. So in my previous session, I have discussed about flood early warning systems. So in that situation, in that case, we have the facilities of flood forecasting, also providing the warning to the communities, to the local people who are residing in that particular zone of flood prone. So we can provide the warnings, as well as we can provide the signals to the particular people for the events or such some sort of activities are going to happen. So that is how we are preventing the disaster, as well as mitigation. Also, we know that we have structural measures to mitigate, as well as non-structural measures to mitigate. So this is all things will be taken care of state government agencies under the leadership of central government agencies. Coordinate the enforcement and implementation of the policy and plan for disaster management. So recommend provision of funds for the purpose of mitigation. See, it's very important since every disaster and taking place in any of the city. So we need a fund. We need money, obviously. So for mobilization, for the fund, for the food, for the shelter, for providing the safe medications, providing the safe drinking water. For everything, we need fund. Since the NDMA, that is central government as well as state government, has certain budgets of funding for respective states, for respective districts, respective events. With respect to the amount of hazard, amount of disaster is taking place in that particular situation, in that particular region, the government releases the fund for the rescue, for the rehabilitation center, for providing the better facilities and bringing out to the habitation centers. So take such other measures for the prevention of disaster or mitigation or preparedness and capacity building for dealing with threatening disaster situations or disaster as it's may consider necessary. Finally, the lay down broad policies and guidelines for the functioning of the National Institute of Disaster Management. So most importantly, since the National Institute of Disaster Management is working rigorously on the preparedness and awareness as well as mitigations. So whatever the guidelines is provided by the NDMA as well as SDMA. So the undertaking institute as well as the academic institutes, the research institutes, as well as the disaster response force, they are following this the guidelines for working on it to provide better facilities as well as service to the victims who are suffered, who are stuck in that situation. Well, disaster response structure in India. So this is majorly comes into picture when we are talking about the response structures. So basically, as we know, as I said in my previous slide, which is central government, there is Ministry of Home Affairs, that is MHA, manages National Disaster Response Fund. Whatever the funding it releases to the different agencies, whether it is National Executive Council, NDRF, NDMA. So even we are having certain nodal agencies. So whatever the event is taking place, whatever the disaster is happening in that particular region, so whatever the fund is supposed to release, so that will be released from Ministry of Home Affairs and under the guidelines as well as policies of the events taking place in that particular conditions. So for example, in Ministry of Home Affairs, we are having major three organizations are working rigorously on disaster management, preparedness as well as mitigations, which is National Executive Council (NCE), which generally prepares national disaster management plans. So as we have studied, but as we have understood, so preparing a disaster management plan, which is we call it as a master plan for the disaster management. So which is prepared by the National Executive Council, so NEC. So under the personnel working in these organizations and the team are highly experienced and having great knowledge about the events, as well as which are going to come up with some proposal to prepare the national disaster management plan. So coming to the NDRF, I hope the participant as well as most of every day, even we are experiencing, or we might have already heard about this term, which is NDRF, National Disaster Response Force. So these are the people who come for your rescue, irrespective of what danger it is, irrespective of how far it is, irrespective of what is happening. These are the team. So they are literally dedicating their lives for the support, to save the people's life who are in danger. So this is what the NDRF is about. And in NDRF, we're having DG rank chairs, 12 battalions organized on paramilitary lines. So NDRF generally comes into picture for emergency responses. So if you have heard about the recent incidents taking place in country, For example, in Punjab, recently we had a huge floods. So a lot of people lost their life, properties, infrastructure damages. Literally, the economy of that particular state is gonna be difficult for recover. So many things are taking place. For example, again, we had Assam flood, we had Uttarakhand floods. So whatever the floods are taking place in India, so most first foremost things people come in for rescue is NDRF for your emergency response for to take care of you, to bring you to the safe place and to provide you the safe medicine as well as food. So next we are having NDMA, that is National Disaster Management Authority, which is under state disaster management level for every state level. So generally, NDMA and SDMA, they what they does is they coordinate overall for whether it is NDRF or executive plans as well as district wise as well as panchayat wise. So whatever the things are there, uh, they are the very first people who are coordinating properly to all the events, all the activities taking place. So how much amount has to fund, how much fund has to release, how much rescue center has to be prepared, how much people are, what is the medical things has to provide to the people, and how much amount of food, water supplies, and facilities has to be supplies to the people has been taken care by SDMA as well as NDM. See, apart from this, see, and National Executive Council, NDRF, NDMA, these are the primary authorities which are directly working with Ministry of Home Affairs. But under NDMA, in coordinates responses as a as a friendly activities as friendly services. So we are having other nodal agencies which are coordinated responses works with NDMA. So we are having IMD, that is Indian Meteorological Department. So we are having CWC, Central Water Commission, GSI, Geological Survey of India, Snow and Avalanches Study Establishment. We have INQUIS, we have ATWS. So basically, this is the disaster response structure in India. So everything comes under Ministry of Home Affairs. Again, we're having three basic organizations which are directly in contact and working with the Ministry of Home Affairs. That is National Executive Center Council. We are NDRF. We are having NDMA. So with NDMA, so we are having some nodal agencies who are kind of supporting agencies to the NDMA for the betterment of the information boxing as well as preparing for the proper better coordinations to the other things, which is IMD, CWC, GSI, and Snow and Avalanche Study Establishment, INQUIS, ETWCS. Again, so with respect to different disaster, we are having different agencies to look after it. So it's not like that only individual agencies looking for all the disasters and monitoring them and preparing the better responses to them. So for example, in case of cyclonic disaster, so with the agency which directly looking into it and working for the things is that is IMD, that is Indian Meteorological Department. So which is comes under Ministry of Earth Science. So for any cyclone disaster is taking place in the country, so that will be comes under agencies which is IMD. So that's how the IMD very often during the risk events, so they will provide the awareness, they will provide the warnings also. For example, this even some part of South India, especially in part of Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, Karnataka, we are facing cyclones, so we are getting huge rainfall. So this information is already provided by the weather forecasting department, so which are working really rigorously for forecasting the weather forecasting and forecasting the details of the events taking place in a country. So that is IMD works, which is associated with Ministry of Earth Science. Coming to heat and cold waves, that is again which comes under IMD and Ministry of Earth Science. Whereas tsunami, Indian Tsunami Early Warning System, ITEWS, under Indian National Center for Ocean Information Services, that is INQUIS, that also comes under Ministry of Earth Science. So whatever related to Earth, whatever related to ocean, which is tsunami, tides, waves, storm surges, and storm tides. So all these things are comes under INQUIS, and the INQUIS, Indian National Center for Ocean Information Service. The head office is in Hyderabad, and so these are the organizations working really hard to understand about the behavior of the ocean and how the waves and tides are acting at with respect to the time. So these are the agencies which provide the better information to the common people as well as to the people who are working on the tsunamis and oceanographic studies. Coming to flood, so as we know that apart from in all the disaster what we have, flood is the one which is most common disaster is flood. So which is monitored by CWC, Central Water Commission under the Ministry of Water Resources. Flood, even to monitor the flooding, CWC has so many CWC has installed so many central stream gauge stations, stream gauge networks to monitor as the flood occurring in the particular areas. So coming to the landslide, we have very often we have experienced, especially along the roadside, sometimes we experience the roads is collapse, the landsliding take place. Because of that, the roads are closed, we cannot able to travel. So some things are there which comes under GIS, that is Geological Survey of India, which is under the Ministry of Mines. So this is the ministry which look into the disasters which is related to landslides. So on avalanche, there is especially snow and avalanche study established DRDO, there is Defense Response Organization, which is under the Ministry of Defense, and epidemics, Central Disease Surveillance Unit, and State Disease and Disease Surveillance Unit, which is Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. So these are the basic one of the fundamentals agencies, as well as with respect to the disasters which are taking place, and which are the agencies which are continuously monitoring and working with respect to that particular disaster, and comes under which ministries are explained in this particular picture. Coming to the next slide, which is responsibilities of government bodies. As for this, we have understood what are the agencies we have, how they are working with, what are the disaster with respect to disaster agency as well as ministries. So we have understood this thing. Now coming to the responsibilities of individual governing bodies. So whether it is central government, what are the responsibilities, what they're gonna do to mitigate, to prepare, to give the awareness as well as response. Basically, in central government agencies, so they will act predominantly to prepare the policies, to have the decision making abilities, to come up with some fundings, which how much funds supposed to release to which agencies, which disaster, and what is the impact of the disaster, is all taken care by the central government, as well as coordination. So as we know that overall coordination, whether it is the state government, local authorities, NGOs, specialized international corporations. So everything is really monitored and properly coordinated by central government. And coming to the next, state government. So whatever the policies, whatever the guidelines, whatever the funding, whatever the coordination is prepared or made by central government, the state government implement them and very closely monitor all the activities which are being taken, which are being happening in the particular regions. So whatever the guidelines is required, whatever the activity they are doing, they have the central government is the one which is going to provide the better monitoring, as well as give the ideas as well as guidelines to work very closely, as well as mitigate the disasters taking place in a particular region. Coming to the local authorities, which is ground level execution and responses. See, as we sometimes it becomes very obvious that being a common person which are stuck in that particular events, stuck in that particular incidences, sometimes we have to be your own warrior. See, sometimes it's gonna be very difficult for us to wait for the NDRF. So sometimes we are in the remote area, so we hardly have any support from the outside people. So who are the people are the local authorities, some sort of private NGOs who are into nearest places, so they can come on the ground level and execute for the response and to bring out the people into the safe place, and bring the safety, the food, the water, and bring the support with the proper act as a life-saving guardians to the people who are stuck in that incidences before the NDRF visiting to the people. So this is how the local authority also act as one of the it becomes the responsibility as a local authority to support, to bring out this victims to the safe locations. Then coming to the specialized agencies, so technical supports and logistics. So for example, we are having so many NGOs who are working rigorously and bringing out better solutions, having a proper communication with the stakeholders and coming up some ideologies, how they are suffering, how they are facing, how best we can make the disaster management plans as well as the policies. So such specialized agencies also can come up with their proposals to give the better guidelines, to provide the better policies for understanding as well as mitigating the disaster taking place in that particular regions. So as we know that sometimes if the local person in that particular area, especially let me go with coastal flooding. Suppose people who are residing in the coastal area, they are having better understanding about the coast, better understanding about the ocean, better understanding about the weather taking place, and they exactly know what level, when is the sea level rise will take place. So these such people are considered as the stakeholders, and the specialized agencies, some sort of private NGOs and all, they come up, they can communicate with them, they can get their support and get their advice as well information to make it better, bring out a better solution for the local authorities as well as provide the better solution to the state governance as well as district governance. So see, sometimes international cooperation is also needed. Why do we need international cooperation? So because see, lack of knowledge or getting knowledge, sharing and your knowledge as well as assistance. Modern technologies are coming up, modern innovation assistance. Modern technologies are coming up, modern innovations are taking place to identify the vulnerability zones, to identify the risk, to supply the facilities. So even some, we have also experienced that, we have also seen that even some places drones are being used to supply the medical kits to the people who are suffered, who are stuck in that remote areas, when it is difficult to you as a mobility or transportation facilities are less there. In that situations, these days even the drones are being used to supply the medical chains, to supply the basic amenities to the people who are stuck in that particular area. Also, with the help of drones as well as the solar system, it becomes very helpful for us to understand what are the ideal locations where the disaster is taking place. So that we could actually go and implement the strategies we have in that particular regions to mitigate them, to avoid them for the repetition of the particular event in that particular situation. So this is how the responsibility of governance bodies come into pictures when we are literally working from the ground level to the central government level. So to understanding knowledge, to get the better latest upcomings, what is happening in the country, what is happening in the world, how better we can bring out to the solutions. So how better we can use the technology for the work, and how better we can provide the awareness to the people we are dealing with. So this is how it becomes the responsibilities of government bodies at different levels. So there is a National Executive Council. The National Executive Council, that is NEC of NDMA, makes decision on the expenses of the National Disaster Response Fund. Member of the NEC comprises secretaries of the concerned central government ministries and departments. So generally, National Executive Committees. So these are the things. These are the committee which forms the basic plans of policies. Also, when we're supposed to release the funds, right? So when the disaster response fund is releasing, so this is the committee which takes the action, which takes the decision how much amount of fund has to release according to the incident, according to the disaster taking place in that particular region. So these are the agency or the committee which comes in a picture to provide the better funding support to the particular state as well as the district with respect to that particular event. And again, the members of this agencies are the secretaries of concerned central government ministries and departments. It assists NDMA in discharging its duties and functions and ensure compliances with directions issued by the Government of India. So National Executive Council member which assists to the National Disaster Management Authority in discharging its duties and functions and ensure compliances with the directions issued by the Government of India. So here it also prepares the National Disaster Management Plan. So The National Executive Council comes with lot of experienced people. So they have support from the NDMA. So they will come up with better decision, national disaster management plans for the better understanding about the events are taking place in that particular states or districts. Again, a state executive committee perform similar function at the state level. So National Executive Committee perform its activities at the central government level. So whereas every states we are having state disaster management authority. In that case, so we are having state executive committee that is perform similar functions at the state-wise level. So we are having national level, we are having state level. So at different levels, we are having different agencies as well as the committee to look after it, to provide better solution, to give the better proper funding release to the particular instance. So National Disaster Management Plan, that is in 2016, the National Disaster Management Plan is established. So the National Disaster Management Plan 2016 is the first ever national plan. So earlier it was called as policies. Before 2016, whatever the management plans were there, we used to not call it as a plan, we used to call it as a policy. So that is a huge change into from policy to plan. So in 2016 is the first ever, it is first of its kind of policies which plan come into existence, which is replacing the policies of the particular NDMA, were which is preparing the country for disaster management to align our national plan with the Sendai framework for DRR. So here basically it has based four priority theme of Sendai framework: disaster response, that is DRR, disaster response, disaster risk response. So here the four priorities are there, which is firstly, it become a first responsibility to understanding the risk, understanding the disaster risk happen in that particular, with respect to the particular flooding, with respect to particular events. So because we have to understand what is the risk occurred with the hazard, with the disaster in the particular zone. Nextly, improving disaster risk governance. So as we are sharing the ideas, understanding the technologies, getting the better understanding, awareness about the events, so it becomes helpful to improve the disaster risk with respect to the governance, whether it is the state government, whether it is the central government. Thirdly, investing in disaster reduction through structural and non-structural measures and disaster preparedness. In my previous session, I have discussed about disaster risk mitigations. The important things are we are having structural measures as well as non-structural measures. So, for example, structural measures in terms of coastal areas, we are having sea walls. So we are constructing sea walls to protect the shore of the season as well as protect the people who are residing in the coast. So such similarly, we are having structural as well as non-structural measures to prepare as well as to fight with the disaster taking place. Fourth one, early warning and building back better in the aftermath of disaster. It provides for horizontal and vertical integration among all the agencies and department of the government up to the local level. See, generally, whatever the event is taking place, with the help of previous studies, whatever the events are happened there, after understanding about the events, so after studying the flood forecasting in that particular area, what we are supposed to do, we want to provide the better warning to the people to take care of them, to provide the better support to save their lives. So that's how early warning system comes into picture to avoid the risk, avoid the people, avoid the event which is gonna happen and which gonna cost a lot of lives, a lot of properties, so much in lives will gonna damage. So early warning system for any incidents, for any disaster, whether it is earthquake, whether it is tsunami, whether it is flooding, whether it is whatever the incidents are taking place, whatever the hazards we have, early warning play a very important role these days. As we know, these days the technology is growing very fast. Every day we are coming up with latest technologies, latest ideas. So much new research is taking place around the world. So understanding and providing the warning to the local people, to the common people. So it becomes very important as a agency, as a National Disaster Management Plan Act, to provide the early warning system to the people to save their lives as well as their properties. Secondly, we are having a regional approach has been adopted for better disaster management as well as planning. The earlier NDPA 2009-2 was based on four priority themes of the Sendai frameworks. So here, a National Crisis Management Committee, that is NCMC, National Crisis Management Committee, it has been formed for effective coordination and implementation of relief measures and operations. It gives direction to the crisis management group. So generally, this committee provide the directions to the crisis management, how we are going to act, how we're going to bring the implement the relief systems as well as measures as well as operations to the particular authorities. So basically, cabinet secretaries heads NCMA, and this National Crisis Management Committee will be headed by cabinet secretaries of the particular states and the centers. It crisis management groups consist of senior officers from concerned ministries. So these are the committee which generally coordinates effectively and implementation of relief measures and provide operations strategies to the state and central state and disaster state as well as district disaster management authorities. So here the most important, as we were talking about, there is a National Disaster Response Force. So these are the force which comes very first. So any event, any incident taking place, whether it is whatever the floods are there, even it's natural calamities or man-made calamities, so NDRF is the one which come forward to protect the people, to save the people from the danger zone. So which is NDRF, that is National Disaster Response Force, is India's elite disaster mitigation combat force established under Disaster Management Act 2005. It is specialized force constituted for specialized responses to a threatening disaster situation or disaster. It functions under the Ministry of Home Affairs as per the direction of the NDMA. Generally, this NDRF is associated with the National Disaster Management Authority and also takes their orders from the Ministry of Home Affairs. And National Disaster Management Response, that is NDRF, a specialized multi-skilled humanitarian force of the country, came into existence on January 19, 2006. See, these people are not common people. These people are multi-skilled humanitarian forces of the country, which act at any danger situation. They are the prime people who doesn't bother about their life. They are ready to sacrifice their life to save the life of people who are into danger zone, who are suffering, who are into the pain. So basically, this force came into existence on January 19, 2006, has a play vital role in disaster management and community awareness for disaster risk reduction in the country, which is, yeah. So this is the force which is comes into your survival and protect you from the danger zones. So generally, this structure of NDRF, that is, it is headed by senior IPS officers appointed as a Directorate General, that is a TG of NDRF, and it has 12 battalions of approximately 1150 personnel each, organized on paramilitary lines and manned by personnel on deputation from the paramilitary forces. Generally, paramilitary forces, 3 people will be there, and from BSF 3 persons, from CRPF 2, and from CISF 2, ITB 2, from the Sashastra Seema well. So these are the persons which are under NDRF. They are multi-trained and they are having multi-knowledge about the surveillance activities, and they are trained with the paramilitary forces, BSF, CRPF, CSIF, ITBPN from the Sashastra Seema well. So this is the general structure of NDRF. Whereas the function of NDRF, how they generally functions. So from where they will take the orders, for the instructions, how they are going to act. Generally, in NDRF functions, it is mandated to undertake special disaster response. So they work for the relief, rescue operation, and combat role independently in the case of event of any disaster, whether it is a natural calamities or man-made, accident or emergency. So any situations in that cases, these people take as responsible as a relief as well as rescue operation, right, independently. So in case of natural calamities, whether it is earthquake, flood, tsunami, all these things, landslide, but sometimes of man-made calamities also there. in some sort of accidents, some sort of bonfire, some buildings bonfiring collapse, or any sort of emergencies are taking place. In that case also, NDRF is comes into picture for the support as well as for the survival of the people who are going to suffer. So it also assists local authorities in launching a quick rescue and response operation to save lives, property, and infrastructures. So generally, very often NDRF, so they will they will
Is it audible to everyone? Anyone? Just one. Sorry, there is a power interruption from resource person side. He asked us to stay for 2 minutes. He will connect once again. Yes, Dattatreya sir. Now he will join. Once again, the speaker will join.
some, am I audible? Am I connected?
Yes, you are,
Oh,
Dr.
sir.
Vijay.
Yes, sir. I will connect. I will share my screen.
Yes, you can switch off your camera so you can continue.
Yes, sir. Yes. Is it visible? So my screen is visible.
Yes, please.
Okay. So generally, the function of NDRF is mandated to undertake the special disaster response relief, rescue operation, as well as combat role responsibilities in case of event of any disaster, which is natural or man-made. And so, due directions for disaster management in India. So, the National Disaster Mitigation Fund will be administered by NDMA. State and district will administrate mitigation funds. So, generally, these directions will be taken care from the higher authority, that is a National Disaster Management Authority, to the state disaster management level. The National Disaster Response Fund will be administered by NDMA through the National Executive Committee. State and district will administrate State Disaster Response Fund and Disaster Response Fund, respectively. So here, 8 battalions of National Disaster Response Force are being trained and deployed with CSR and MRF equipped and tool in 8 strategic locations. National Disaster Management Policy and National Disaster Response Plan will also be drawn up. So here, as I said about the nodal agencies which are working in supporting of NDMA, which is IMD. Basically, IMD will monitor the monitors meteorological information and continuously communicate with disaster manager for disaster preparedness. It gives early warning to the regions, mainly is to maximize the number of people who take appropriate and timely action for the safety of their life and properties. Whereas CWC, Central Water Commission, it provides flood forecasting and warning. The flood forecasting network of the Central Water Commission covers all the major flood-prone interstate rivers, basins, and countries. Whereas ISRO, Indian Space Research Organization, provides the satellite-based near real-time information supports to central ministries. And we have building and material promotions councils. We have Bureau of Indian Standards, which gives better understanding as well as how to draw the supports from the cities. Uh, yeah. So, similarly, the nodal agencies we have for respective events for flood, Ministry of Water Resources, as I said, for cyclones, Indian Meteorological Department is there. IMD will look into the cyclonic activities are happening in that particular regions, as well as for earthquake. Again, IMD, which is Indian Meteorological Department, takes place for epidemics, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. For Ministry of Health, as well chemical disaster. Suppose there are any chemical disaster is taking place in that region, so here the epidemics or Ministry of Health will take place. Industrial disaster, any sort of industrial disaster are taking occurring in that particular research. So that is taken care by the Ministry of Labor's. Railway incidents, which is Ministry of Railways. Air accidents, Ministry of Air Aviation will look into it. For fire and fire things, the Ministry of Home Affairs will be one of the primary agencies which work into it. Nuclear incidences, Department of Atomic Energy will look into all the events, all the hazards taking place with the help of nuclear incidences. Suppose there are any mining disaster, which is a part of mine, or landslidings are there, some sort of mining take place, that is Department of Mine will look into it for the better understanding about, as well as to send the support and recovery. Central sector scheme for disaster management silent features are there. So for every central schemes we have, central as well as state schemes we are having, for them there is some sort of silent features are there. For example, a Human Resource Department, as well as setting up of National Center for Disaster Management (NCTM), setting up of disaster management facilities in states, program for community participation and public awareness, observing National Disaster Reduction Day, activities to achieve the goals and objectives of IDMF. These are the silent feature of the respective central agencies which are working with the disaster management to prepare and to bring out the measures, better mitigations measures for any events taking place in that particular zone. So community and governance. So look into this, how the community and governance are coexisting, how they are working together. So that's how we are going to understand in this particular slide. So community-based disaster management enhance resiliences. So obviously, when we are going with a community-based disaster management, so it enhances the resiliences or the results of the particular events. Governance ensures participation through awareness and campaigns. So that's what, as I said, NDRF as well as STRF, they very often they will start campaign and they will start some awareness programs to provide the better awareness to reach to the people about the Disaster Act and how they can survive themselves, how they can save their life as well as their loved lives also. So that's how they very often they will start awareness campaign as well as very activities as well as competition programs also. Inclusion of local knowledge is decision making improves outcomes. Obviously, since the local knowledge, local people are providing knowledge to the local people. So at the time of decision making, at the time of survival, so it will help. It becomes help to them. They don't have to wait for the NDRF to come and rescue them. So they themselves they can take care of their health. They can rescue themselves from the incidents which is occurring in that particular zone. Also, strengthening local governance, build adaptive capabilities. Obviously, from the state government to the panchayat to the district administratives. So it becomes very important to strengthen the local bodies. So at times of need, they can work as a warrior, as a soldiers to protect the things, as well as to have better communication between the country, to the governance as well as the community people. So even even the government has certain challenges to work with it. So even they're having a lot of facilities along with them, still they are also going through some sort of facilities. Also, they're going through some sort of challenges. So here, so what are the challenges generally they will face? So basically, lack of coordination among the departments. Sometimes, since we are having a lot of so many departments are there, so many organizations are there, so many committees we have, it becomes some sort of difficult to take a proper coordinations, have proper communication, the proper interaction with the department. So the lack of proper coordination will cause some sort of difficulty. So it causes some sort of misinterpretation of the result. So we do not get the actual result what we're supposed to expect it. So that is one of the major challenges in the governance, which with the lack of coordination. Again, insufficient funding and resources. So if in a year, in a 5 to 2 years, if there are multiple series of events is taking place in that state, or the same in a single season, there are multiple events or multiple hazards, disaster is taking place in the country with different states, different districts. So in that situation, it becomes very difficult for the governance to provide the relief fund and also provide the rescue team. So that way, it is some sort of challenging as a governance to provide the proper sufficient funding as well as resources and to make sure to reach the funding and resources on time at that particular event place. So weak enforcement of disaster management laws. Sometimes what happens as the National Disaster Management Authority and Central Committee, they are preparing the national disaster plans and laws. So from the higher authority to the lower authority, when it is traveling, so sometimes it becomes difficult to enforce all the laws and policies what they are prepared and made. So that will be one of the key challenges to the government to bring into existence and work accordingly and make sure that whatever the laws and policies they have prepared, so they will act accordingly and make sure that it is applicable to the all agencies. And most sometimes it becomes a poor community engagement. So lack of communication, so lack of transportation, lack of mobility, lack of providing the information. In that situation, it becomes very difficult for the government to have a better communication. So that poor community communication will create a lot of damages to the people, and the support the the goods whatever they need required at that zone, it becomes tough to the government. It becomes very challenging for the government to supply the rescue team to the food, the goods. So that will be one of the challenging part to the government to look into it and to overcome the challenges and provide the better facilities to the people who are into trouble. So again, we have inadequate training and capacity building. So obviously, it becomes very challenging for the government to provide a better challenging as well as some sort of incapability of buildings. If suppose the building laws are not actively working or involving, some are not ignored in some cases. So in that scenario, it's going to be very tough to the government to make sure that they follow the law, whatever the master plans, whatever the laws that will be created. So these are the very few challenges which I have highlighted here, but there are so many other challenges which are very oftenly they are fighting with it and making sure that so whatever the challenges they are going to face, they come up with some better results and better solution to fight with the problems or challenges they are going to face. Well, the policy development and implementation. So how they are going to prepare the policy and how they are implementing it. So preparing is important, also at the same time implementing becomes very important at that particular case. So governance sets the foundation by developing comprehensive disaster management policies. These policies define objectives, responsibilities, and protocols. Implementations ensure these plans address local needs while combining with national and international standards for coordinated disaster risk reduction. So this is sometimes becomes difficult for the policy as well implementation. So the government will have to look into it very comprehensively for the particular disaster management policies to have a better implementation of the policy, which is gonna make better results or make some sort of changes with the results. So the legal and regulatory responsibilities. So obviously, how this legal and as part of governance, the legal responsibilities are there. How they are going to work with it. So how we are going to challenge it. So the governance enforces legal framework that mandate disaster preparedness and responses. So these regulations define roles, liabilities, and standards for all stakeholders. Clear regulatory compliance fosters accountability and ensure consistent application of disaster management strategies across region and sectors. So this is how the legal and regulatory responsibilities will be taken care of the government agencies for implementing any laws as well as preparing any master plans. So the governance challenges and global comparison. Here, the role of governance in India's disaster management. How in this slide, I just wanted to highlight about the Indian disaster role as well as the, with respect to the global comparison. So, India's governance structure integrated disaster management with development plannings. The Disaster Management Act empowers authorities to coordinate prevention, mitigation, and relief efforts. Challenges include resources allocation, interagencies coordination, and addressing diverse regional risks. So this will be a role of governance in Indian disaster management. So generally, first and foremost, to coordinate the prevention, preventative measures, mitigation, and relief efforts. So that is a challenging part, and so that's how it becomes a very challenging role for the government to work accordingly with the disaster management as well as to come up with a better solution for such challenges. So here, international best practices. Generally, global best practice emphasizes integrated governance. So governance, community involvement, and technology uses. So as we know that technology is developing so far, as will AI, machine learning is taking over for everything. So understanding, coping up, and adopting the latest technologies becomes very important in any sector, irrespective of your what sector, what zone you are working in. So whatever the latest technology is coming up, it becomes very important as an educator, as an academician, as a researcher, as a scientist, as a whatever you are working with. So it becomes very important for us to integrate with the latest technology about as well as understanding about how the things are going to take place in upcoming years. So here also comparing with the best practices. So it's better to it becomes very important for integrating the governance, community involvement, and technology users. So latest technology users are important. So the countries adopt multi-level coordinations, robust policy frameworks, and transparent communications. Benchmarking these practices guides improvements and national disaster management systems. So here, enhancing preparedness and response through governance. So basically, effective governance strengthens disaster resilience by promoting risk assessments, early warning system, and capacity building. Continuous training, interaction, collaboration, and policy reviews enhance readiness and enable quicker, more efficient emergency responses. So that's how it is for every effective governance strengthening. So they have to promote risk assessment, also early warning system. So they have to work on how we are going to provide, how we're going to assess how we are going to forecast the disasters or any hazards going to take place. So our business about the forecasting studies. So we are providing the early warning systems to the community, to the people in that particular zone, and also capacity building activities supposed to be taken place into this act for enhancing the preparedness and as well as the responsibilities. So continuous training, as we know, as the NDRF is already doing these initiatives. So continuously they're providing training events, awareness programs, so interaction, collaboration with the stakeholders, with the different agencies, with the private sectors, with NGOs, local authorities. So that becomes very successful as well as helpful for preparing about the events. Also, policy reviews enhance readiness and enable quicker, more efficient emergency responses. So very oftenly, it becomes very important to enhance the whatever the policies, whatever the master plans we have. It becomes depend as per the climate changes, as per the technology development, as per the situations are changes with day by day, year by year. So it becomes our responsibility as a governor. So to update, to enhance the policies, whatever the guidelines we are following, whatever the master plans we have, we need to upgrade it. We need to enhance it as per the events are taking place in that region to cope up with the disasters and to protect the life of people, habitants, as well as infrastructure, government building, government facilities. So it becomes important to enhance better quality qualities for the preparedness. So here, with this, I would want to give the concluding remark with this presentation. Uh, Generally, so what we observe is, with strong governance is central to effective disaster management, providing structural and accountability, learning from global models, and addressing local challenges, enhancing national systems, continuous policy development, coordination, and capacity building uh, build resilience against future disasters. So it becomes very important for understanding to make the governance very strong. So understanding the effective disaster management as also to take as a accountability as a challenges. So learning from the global models. So that's what I was discussing about international comparison with global practices. So it becomes important for the governance as well as any authorities who are part of the agencies to learn from the global models, how they are doing it, how they are working on it, how they are forecasting it, how they are working with the early warning systems. So how they are reducing the risk, reducing the damages. So that becomes one of the important factor to the agencies to work on it, to make sure that so they will properly coordinate and to make have a capacity building against future disaster. So that's how we look into it. So when we want to provide a warning system, so we just wanted to make sure that whatever the future events are gonna take place, so how we are preparing it, how we are acting it, how we are responding it, how best we are sending the relief fund, and how we are doing the basic support system to the communities. So good governance is the backbone of effective disaster management. It ensures preparedness, rapid resources, rapid response, and resilience recovery through institutional coordinations, legal framework, and community participations. Yeah, it's a sign of good government. It's become the backbone of effective disaster management. So it has to ensure that so preparedness, rapid responses, resilience recovery through institutional coordination, legal frameworks has to be work hand by hand, so that the challenges what they are suffering, what they are coming up, so they will ensure that the challenges are fighted with very ease and come up with a better solution, and we can finally we could make sure that we could save the people lives, or we could try to protect the government infrastructures, the bodies, the roads, the whatever the infrastructure we have. So that way it is kind of easy. It becomes easy for us, the government, to cope up better and to come up with a better facilities and be a better resource to the community. So yeah, this is what I would like to conclude with this presentation. And yeah, thank you very much for your time and attention. So this is my email ID. If you have any queries, if you you can text me anytime. You can mail me any further things are related to disaster management as well as flood modeling. So as I would also just before concluding, I just want to highlight few things. So I'm working with my area of interests are hydrological modeling. If anybody interested to work with HMS as well as hydrological modeling, which is HECRAS, shoreline morphology, which is a DSAS, hydrodynamic modeling, which is a MIC modules. So I'm very good in it. So with this, if you have any queries with your projects, with your upcoming work, if anything related to this topics, you can reach me out with this email ID, and I'm happy to serve you from whatever point, whatever possibilities I can do to help you with your project, with your work to finish to the bond line. Thank you very much. This is where I finish my presentations, and also I would like to thank to the organizers, Dr. Sri Ramchandra sir, head of the Department of Sri Chaitanya College of Engineering, for giving me this opportunity. Also Atal for this wonderful FDP. And once again, I would like to thank to the participants for being very kind, being supportive, and being attentive throughout the sessions. Thank you, sir. Over to you.
Dr. Vijay,
Yes,
it's
sir.
a great session, and you have covered the roles and responsibilities of the governance for disaster management strategies. Yes, I would like to ask the participants if you have any queries, it's open to you. Anyway, if anything you would like to ask, you can ask through email. And I have shared the Google link, which is already shared in the first session. So if you have already filled it, no need to fill once again. We are not asking any feedback for the sessions. Why? Because AICTE has provided, ATAL has provided one feedback link at the end of the training program that will be open to you after 6th day. So there you have to fill your feedback, and we will also ask you reflection, like the reflection at the end of this 6 day ATAL FDP. So if anything is not there, we will close the session for today. And we really thank Dr. Vijay Suryavamshi for accepting our invitation and presenting a detailed overview on Disaster Mitigation Act, Disaster Management Act 2005. Yes. Thank you one and all for being with us. Tomorrow at 6 p.m. we will be having 2 sessions. So far we have sessions from the experts of water resource engineering. Tomorrow and day after tomorrow, the sessions will be on structural resilience and the materials that are suitable for like to resist these type of disasters. So far we understood about disaster and how to assess the disaster. Now after that, post recovery of structures. So regarding that, we have experts from industry as well as experts from NIT Silchar, NIT Warangal. The people they are coming forward to present their lectures on Friday and Saturday. We hope that the same audience, like the attendance, will be there. With this, we'll close the session. Yes, if the link is not opened, ma'am, I have already shared in the WhatsApp group also the same link.